Hi everybody, how's everyone doing? I'm doing well. Welcome to Easy Riders. I hope everybody's doing good. I'm going to talk a little bit today about something that's been bothering me. I want to get it off my chest. I see all this negative stuff on the internet, not just YouTube, but all over the internet about Harley-Davidson, and it's really starting to make me angry the way people are acting towards them. So I'm going to get that off my chest. So if you don't like that kind of video, well, that's what this one's going to be. But if you do, please like my videos with the big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already done so, share with your friends and family so they can enjoy them and I can share with more people. Thanks a lot.
All right, let's go.
Okay, first up, it's all over YouTube and the internet that Harley's going on, that they don't make quality machine or motorcycles that people want to buy. Well, let me tell you something. I have been hearing that rhetoric since the 60s, and it's all a bunch of bunk. Harley-Davidson is still here. They're still making motorcycles. Sure, they've discontinued some models. They've been discontinuing models for a long time. They no longer make the FXR. That was a very popular bike. Now you find an FXR that's 25, 30 years old and they want $8, $10, $11, $12,000 for them. And they're still working good. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the quality of Harley-Davidson. They are a very long-lasting motorcycle. I don't think you'll find any other bikes out there still operating that are so old. Harley-Davidson puts more paint on their bikes than any vehicle manufacturer in the world does. Harley-Davidson paint is still shiny 20, 30, 40, 50, even 60 years later. Because there's plenty of paint on there to shine up. You can't say that for a lot of other bikes. And people are saying they're overpriced. Yesterday's technology at tomorrow's prices. That's Bunk 2. Harley-Davidson's, while they aren't necessarily the first to adopt new technology, they do use new technology. They're not all old engines. Yes, they're pushrod engines. That's true. And you know why? Because pushrod engines are very reliable, very long lasting. That overhead cam whether it's a belt or a chain driving it, if something happens to that belt or a chain, if it's the kind of engine that the valve when it's open can be hit by the piston when it comes up if it doesn't close in time, that engine is ruined. It's got to be rebuilt. Now the piston and the rod and the valve definitely is no good. Your cylinder wall might be all screwed up too. That's why they don't adopt new technology right away. They make sure it's good, and they'll probably never get rid of pushrod engines, at least not in the foreseeable engines, because that is an extremely reliable running engine, a pushrod engine. The Dodge Hellcat is a pushrod engine. You're not going to get an engine to put out 1,000 horsepower plus all that torque and hold up. No way. Without a push rod. Push rod's driving the valves. Harley-Davidson going under. Can't sell bikes. Young people don't want them. Well, all you got to do is look around YouTube. You'll see a lot of young people riding Harley-Davidsons. In fact, everybody I know that rides a Harley-Davidson is younger than I am. I'm the boomer at 69 years old. They're not boomer bikes. Yeah, we're the ones that like them so much, but people before us liked them too. When the GIs came back from World War II, they bought Harley-Davidsons. A lot of them bought those surplus ones that the government was selling after the war because they didn't need them. And that's where the bobber and the chopper came out. They were buying those bikes and then modifying them, making them for a particular purpose or to look the way they wanted them to look. And then us boomers came along, and in the 60s, when we were getting old enough to ride and drive, yeah, we liked them too. And they had a bit of a bad rap when AMF owned them. Even the Davidsons like to blame Harley's problems on AMF for that time, but the fact of the matter is, those motorcycles that AMF made, there's a whole bunch of them still around today. Almost every shovel head made was made when AMF owned Harley-Davidson. I owned an FX Super Glide, 1971. I didn't buy it new in 1971, but that was when AMF was making them. I never had any real problems with it. I had problems with my 53, which AMF didn't make. Points wouldn't last more than 500 or 600 miles on it. And while it would run fine once you get it running, it was very hard to start once the points would burn on it. There was no electric start in those days on those bikes, all kickers. But I'll tell you what, there's still a lot of them around too. Panheads, knuckleheads. They're still around. And the Evo engine might even be one of the best engines Harley ever made. They're still putting that in their Sportsters. It's a very good engine, but the twin cams and the Milwaukee 8 are good engines too. And the Milwaukee 8 has a lot of technology in it. A lot of newer technology. Yeah, okay, it's not right brand new this year. That's because they're not releasing it till they're pretty sure it's going to work. Well, yet they have had some trouble with some of their things. I remember my 06 Dyna had a problem with fuel injectors. But look at all kinds of vehicles have recalls. Actually, I never noticed anything with mine, but when I took it in for service, they said, oh, got a recall on here, got to replace the fuel injector. Okay. Now, some of the Harley dealers, I agree, have some poor business practices. Don't snort your nose or look down on the guy that rides in on a Honda looking around. I've ridden Hondas, Kawasaki's, Yamahas, one Hodaka and one Norton, owned them. And I like them. I just like the way Harley-Davidsons look, sound, and feel better than anything else. But there's other bikes that are good bikes, and I'll ride them when I can afford it. I always have a Japanese bike in my stable, as well as a Harley-Davidson. Harley is not going under. They've been around a long time, and they're going to be around a long time. Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, they all got some financial difficulties right now too. They're not selling all that well. Neither's BMW. And talk about overpriced, Honda Goldwings. They cost just as much or more than a touring Harley-Davidson costs. A touring bike is an expensive bike. BMW touring bikes are expensive. BMW sports bikes are still expensive. Kawasaki has a sports bike that's $30,000. Ducati has bikes that are $60,000. So, for the types of bikes that Harley sells, I don't think they're overpriced. Sporties are kind of on the high side for what they're competing with, but you've got that look. People that want that look, you can't get that in any other motorcycle but a Harley-Davidson. You can't get that sound. You can't get that feel. Yeah, I know what some of you say, that feel is vibration, wears you out. I like the vibration. If I didn't like the vibration, instead of a Road King, I'd have bought a Goldwing. They're smooth as silk. But I like the vibration. I like my engine where you can see it. I don't like it all covered up. And I'm not the only one. And there are lots of young people. Like I said, everybody I know that owns a Harley is younger than I am. I'd say most of the Harley owners are in their 40s and 50s. But there's plenty of 20s and 30-year-olds. In fact, I've never seen so many 30-year-olds on YouTube that own Harleys as what's on there now. People in their 30s. And there are several 20-year-olds. It's not an old man's bike. Neither is the Goldwing, for that matter. That's for people if they want to make long trips comfortably. That's what touring bikes are for. But I had to get that off my chest because it's something that's been bothering me lately. And Fortnite, Brian Fortnite, his channel is called Fortnite. He was really hard on Harley-Davidsons on a post maybe last month. Now, I love his channel. I think he's entertaining as all hell. But he's wrong about Harley-Davidson. He is absolutely wrong. They're good motorcycles. They're reliable motorcycles. I know lots of Harley Harley-Davidsons that have gone well over 100,000 miles before they needed any rebuild type of work done on them. I got over 70 on this one right here. This Road King. I got a couple of electrical problems where the electrical wire, the insulation wore out on one of the fuel injector wires, and it was shorting intermittently against the frame. And then the main battery cable that goes down from the battery down to where it connects to some sort of junction area, the cable just came apart from the connector down there in the inside the frame. Now that doesn't make it a bad bike. It's a cheap fix. And don't tell me you guys on your sport bikes don't get electrical problems too. I know you do. And the same thing with dirt bikes. I can't count the number of dirt bikes I've looked at that half the electrical stuff doesn't work, and the people aren't fixing it before they sell it. They're just going to sell it because they don't want to mess with it. Well, I just had to say that. Yes, I'm brand loyal to Harley-Davidson, but I also like Hondas a lot for a lot of things, and I like Yamahas. I probably like Hondas better. I've never owned a Suzuki. I've owned 2 Kawasaki's. They were good bikes. I'm the North now. That wasn't such a good bike, I didn't think. And that darn Whitworth tool business, I couldn't use standards half the time, and you couldn't use metrics on them either. You had to have a third standard of tools to work on them, and I did not like that. It was a very quick bike for only being 750 cc's. It was very fast. My Yamahas were 2-strokes. They required a lot of frequent rebuilding. So did my Hodaka. It was a 2-stroke too.